They didn't notice him at first, not when he stepped through the glass doors of the dojo, not when he placed his worn sneakers neatly by the wall, not even when he bowed quietly toward the mat before stepping onto it for the first time. He was just a kid, skinny, quiet, dark skin, eyes steady, movements cautious, like someone used to watching before acting. His name was Malik, but no one asked, no one offered a hand, no one welcomed him. He was just the new kid. And in a room full of noise, muscle, and loud confidence, quiet didn't get noticed, until it did. Malik bowed once more before taking a spot at the end of the line. His uniform was clean but second-hand. The sleeves hung too long. His belt was tied tight, like someone trying to keep something from unraveling. Across the room, the regulars were already eyeing him. Kids who'd been training together for years. Kids with color-coded belts and louder laughs, one of them in particular. Logan, tall for his age, broad shoulders, the kind of teenager who always stood at the front of the line and acted like he belonged there. His uniform was crisp, his belt dark red, his words louder than his technique. Logan nudged his friend and whispered something without looking away from Malik. They laughed, but Malik didn't flinch. He had seen worse. The instructor entered, older, stern, structured. He greeted the class, lined them up, and began warm-ups. Malik followed silently, copying the movements like he'd practiced them 1,000 times in his head. He moved with restraint. His steps weren't sharp yet, but there was rhythm. There was patience. Jason Statham sat in the back. He wasn't a coach. He wasn't on the roster. He was just there, watching, observing. To the others, he was just another quiet man in the corner, maybe a parent, maybe a sponsor, maybe a nobody. But his eyes, they never blinked, because he wasn't watching technique. He was watching how they treated the quiet one. And he saw everything. Halfway through class, the instructor split them into pairs. Practice drills, one-on-one. Logan called it first. "Let me take the new kid." The instructor nodded. Malik stepped forward. Jason leaned slightly in his chair. Logan didn't wait for instructions. He jabbed forward with a smirk, tapping Malik's shoulder too hard, not to hurt, but to provoke. Malik reset his stance. Logan did it again, harder. A third time, he shoved him back. The instructor corrected him mildly, but Logan laughed, stepped back, and motioned for Malik to try something. Malik hesitated. He looked unsure, not of the technique, but of the rules. What was allowed? What would be punished? Jason recognized that look. He had worn it once. Malik moved. It wasn't perfect, but it was controlled. Logan caught his arm and twisted it, unnecessarily hard. Malik staggered. The instructor was distracted. Others laughed. Jason's hand rested on his knee now, not in tension, in readiness. Logan pushed again. Malik fell. The room didn't stop. No one paused. It was just training. Except it wasn't, because humiliation, when subtle enough, hides behind the word practice. And Jason had seen enough. Logan smirked as Malik got up. "Too easy," he mumbled. Not loud, but loud enough. Jason stood. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't say a word. He simply walked. Each step across the wooden floor was quiet, calm. But the sound of it changed the room. The instructor looked up. So did Logan. So did everyone else. Jason didn't speak. He nodded once toward the instructor, then toward Logan. A silent request. "Let me." The instructor hesitated, then nodded. Jason removed his jacket and stepped onto the mat. Logan backed up slightly, confused. Malik stood to the side now, watching, unsure what was happening, but knowing something had shifted. Jason tied on a white belt, not for humility, but to remind them. This isn't about rank, it's about principle. Logan smiled like it was a joke. He didn't realize that the man standing in front of him had once walked into rooms full of trained killers and silenced them the same way, with presence, with stillness, with a lesson they never forgot. And in seconds, Logan would understand why. Logan stepped onto the mat with the same swagger he used in every match. Hands loose, back straight, smirk loaded. To him, this was a game, a chance to show off, to make an example. Jason didn't move, didn't shift, didn't even raise his guard. He just stood there, arms relaxed, feet grounded, eyes locked on Logan's every motion. And that unsettled Logan more than he let on, because he was used to tension, to nerves, to opponents who twitched, blinked, swallowed hard before the first move. But Jason, he stood like a statue carved from purpose. The class fell silent. The instructor gave a nod, and Logan rushed in. The first strike came fast. A standard right jab, followed by a step-in front kick. It looked impressive. It had power. It had speed. It also missed. Jason didn't even block it. He stepped aside with just enough movement to let the strike dissolve into air. Logan's foot landed awkwardly. He recovered, turned, tried again. This time he aimed high, a spinning back fist. Jason ducked effortlessly, moved to the side, and placed a single hand on Logan's shoulder as he passed. Not to strike, to remind. Logan stumbled. His cheeks flushed. The room stayed quiet, breaths held like strings pulled taut. Jason still hadn't hit him. But Logan had never felt so exposed. He came in again, this time wild, frustration replacing form. Jason caught the wrist, twisted gently, stepped behind, and brought Logan to his knees. Not slammed, not broken, just lowered, controlled. And when Logan looked up, he didn't see anger. He saw discipline. Jason released him and stepped back. No words, no judgment, just a lesson. Logan stood slowly, unsure of what to do. He wasn't hurt, he wasn't bruised, but he was changed. Because Jason didn't punish him. He revealed him. The instructor called an end. Jason bowed, not to Logan, but to the class. Then he turned to Malik. The boy stood frozen at the edge of the mat, not in fear, in awe. Jason walked toward him, stopped beside him, and looked him in the eye. Then, without speaking, he untied the white belt from his own waist and handed it to Malik. Not as a prize, as a signal. You're not invisible, and you don't stand alone anymore. The entire class watched in silence. Logan stared at the floor. The instructor said nothing because what was just taught went beyond any rank or title. It was a reminder of what the dojo was supposed to be, a place of respect, of correction, of honor. And that day, they saw it return, not in words, but in motion. Later, as the students gathered their bags and changed back into their shoes, Logan sat alone, wiping sweat from his forehead. Malik passed by him quietly. Logan looked up, didn't speak, but his eyes were different, softer, quieter. Jason walked out last, the white belt still missing from his waist. But something greater had been restored. And Malik? He walked taller that day, not because of what he had done, but because of what he had survived. That night, as Malik walked into his small apartment, his mother looked up from the kitchen and saw something different in him. He didn't tell her what happened. He didn't need to. But later, as he unpacked his bag, he held the white belt in his hands like it was made of gold. And outside, parked across the street, a car engine idled quietly, watching, waiting. Someone else had seen what happened in that dojo, and he wasn't done yet. The next morning, Malik arrived at the dojo 30 minutes early. The lights were still off, the mats untouched. Silence hung in the air like dust, settling over every corner of the space where so much had shifted the day before. He stepped onto the wooden floor and bowed. Not because anyone was watching, because it mattered. Because now he understood. He stretched in silence, repeated stances, practiced punches in the mirror, correcting himself. His movements were sharper, more deliberate, not because of technique, but because of something he hadn't felt before: belonging. Outside, a car pulled into the lot. Malik didn't stop. He heard the door open, slow footsteps. Then, behind him, that voice. Not spoken, not loud, just presence. Jason. He didn't ask Malik why he was early. He knew. And Malik didn't ask Jason to stay. He just kept moving. Jason watched for a few minutes, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Then he stepped forward and adjusted Malik's back foot, shifted his weight slightly, corrected a misplaced elbow. No lecture, just touch correction, repetition. Malik reset, tried again, and Jason nodded once. They trained like that for an hour. No audience, no noise, just focus. Afterward, as Malik sat catching his breath, Jason placed a folded cloth beside him, the belt he had returned the day before, freshly washed, resting on the floor, as if saying, "You have to earn it every day." Malik smiled quietly. He understood. Later that week, the regular classes resumed. Students returned to routine. Logan was quieter, less dominant. He trained harder, but he didn't boast. Something in him had shifted. He wasn't afraid. He was watching, trying to understand what Jason had done, not physically, but mentally. Malik trained beside him now, not behind him, and no one questioned it. But across the street, the car returned. Same time, same spot. Windows tinted, engine running low, watching. At first, it went unnoticed, but Jason noticed. Every day, same car, same time, no one stepped out. Until Friday. After class, as Malik and Logan left the building, laughing about a new technique they'd messed up, the car door opened. A man stepped out, tall, heavy-set, sunglasses, jacket zipped up despite the warm air. He didn't approach the kids. He approached the door. Jason opened it before he could knock. They stood face to face. No handshake, just tension. The man said nothing at first, then handed Jason a business card. Jason didn't take it. The man placed it on the bench and left. Malik saw it from a distance. Something in Jason's shoulders changed. Not fear, not anger. Readiness. Jason picked up the card and folded it without looking at it. He didn't need to read it. He already knew what it meant, because the dojo had become something more than a school. It had become a mirror. And some people don't like what they see in the reflection. That night, Jason stood in his living room, lights off, belt in hand. He thought about Malik, about Logan, about Arthur, about the past, about the man at the door. He placed the folded card into a drawer, the same drawer where he kept things he promised never to touch again. And as he closed it, the phone rang. The caller ID didn't show a name, but Jason answered anyway. The voice on the line said only one thing: "He's just a kid. Don't get involved." Then the line went dead. The next day, Malik hesitated outside the dojo for the first time. His bag was slung over one shoulder. His shoes felt heavier. Something in the air felt different. The street was quieter, the sky overcast, and he could feel eyes, not from the windows or the mat, but from somewhere unseen. He stepped inside. Jason was already there. He nodded once, not a greeting, a confirmation. I saw it too. Malik trained harder than ever that day, kicks sharper, breath steadier. He didn't speak much. Neither did Jason, but something passed between them with every repetition, something ancient, something unspoken. After class, Malik packed his bag slower than usual. Jason approached, said nothing, just handed him a small note folded in half. Inside, an address. Saturday, 6 a.m., bring your belt. Malik nodded. He didn't ask what it was. He already knew. Jason didn't train boys, he built men. Saturday came early. The address led Malik to an old warehouse near the edge of town. Sunlight filtered through broken windows. Dust danced in the beams of light like falling snow. Inside, a single mat was rolled out. Jason stood barefoot in the center. No uniform, no rank, just readiness. Malik bowed. Jason nodded. And they began. It wasn't a fight, it wasn't a class. It was a conversation. One punch at a time, a test of control, of humility, of will. Jason pushed him, not to hurt him, to reveal him. And Malik rose, again and again, until his arms trembled and his chest burned. And then Jason stepped back, held out the same white belt, only now it looked different. It looked earned. Malik took it with both hands and bowed, deeper than ever before. But outside, the same car waited. Only now someone new was inside, the man from before, and someone else, younger, meaner, impatient. Jason saw them as he left with Malik. Didn't acknowledge, just watched. Later that evening, Jason received another call. This time, a voice he recognized. Not from the war, from a time before. A name tied to the underground world of illegal fight circuits. The kind of world that made money off pain and power off fear. They wanted Malik, not to train him, to use him, to break him. Jason hung up and sat still, because now it wasn't just about respect. It was about protection. That night, Jason opened the drawer again, took out the card, unfolded it. The name printed at the top matched the caller. But beneath it, in pen, someone had written, "He's his nephew." Jason stared at the ink, then looked out the window. Across the street, the car was gone. But something worse had arrived. A message taped to his door. One word. "Back off." The message stayed taped to the door for hours. Jason didn't touch it, didn't remove it. He wanted whoever left it to know. He saw it, and he didn't flinch. Inside, Malik sat on the bench in the changing room, staring at his hands. They were calloused now, stronger. But that wasn't what he saw. He saw hesitation. Jason entered the room, calm as always, but with something heavier in his gaze. He didn't ask if Malik saw the message. He asked if Malik wanted to train. The boy nodded. The mat was cold. The room was empty. But they moved like the world was watching. Jason didn't hold back. Not because he was testing Malik's body, because he was training his convictions. Every strike, every block, every fall, Malik got up faster, with purpose, with balance, until he didn't, until one blow sent him to the floor, hard. Air knocked from his lungs. He lay there, staring at the ceiling. Then Jason knelt beside him, not as a coach, as something else. A man who'd seen too many boys stay on the floor. And in the quiet, Jason said the only words Malik would remember for the rest of his life. "You're not who they think you are, but you are who you decide to be next." Malik got up, not stronger, clearer. Later that week, Logan returned to the dojo after skipping a few sessions. He didn't speak much, but when he did, it was to Malik. He asked to spar, not to win, to learn. Jason watched them from the side. Logan moved with less ego now. Malik moved with more confidence, and for the first time, they bowed to each other, as equals. After class, the instructor pulled Jason aside. He handed him an old black belt, frayed at the ends, worn soft by time. "I held on to this," the instructor said, "for someone who'd earn it the way it was meant to be earned." Jason looked down at the belt, then toward Malik. He knew what to do. Saturday came again. The dojo filled with students and parents for a monthly showcase. No medals, just progress. Jason stood before the group. He didn't give a speech. He called Malik forward, then held up the belt. The room stilled, not because of color, not because of power, because of what it represented. Malik stepped forward. Jason tied the belt slowly, deliberately, then stepped back. No applause, just silence, respect, until Logan clapped. Once, then again. Then the room followed. Not because it was expected, because it was earned. After the event, Malik opened his gym bag to find something strange, an envelope. No name, no return address. Inside, a photo of him and Jason leaving the warehouse the previous week, and one line printed in red ink. "He's not your responsibility." Jason read it once, then burned it in a metal tray, because the final lesson hadn't been given yet, and he would make sure it was in front of everyone. The letter had burned clean, no ashes left to read, but the message stayed. Jason knew the type of people who wrote things like that, the kind who never showed their faces, the kind who built their power through fear, then collapsed the moment someone stood tall enough not to be moved. This wasn't about Malik anymore. It was about what he represented. And Jason wasn't going to let him carry that weight alone. That Monday, the dojo opened early. Jason stood in the center with Arthur Bell, the original instructor who had taught him decades before, now retired but still sharp as ever. Arthur looked at Jason once. "You kept the belt?" Jason nodded. "I gave it away." Arthur didn't respond, because he knew. Jason had refused the black belt as a young man, not because he wasn't worthy, but because he didn't believe in the people handing it to him. Now, all these years later, he had passed it forward. Not to someone perfect, but to someone ready. Malik entered the room, quiet but steady. The white belt was gone. The black one tied firm, not like decoration, but like armor. Logan followed close behind, and others soon after. The dojo filled. At the edge of the mat, a man stood, not part of the group, not wearing a gi, the same man who had left the card, who had made the call, who had threatened from the shadows. He was here now, watching. Jason nodded to Arthur, then turned to the class. "Today," he said, "we fight, not each other, not for belts, for clarity." They trained hard, faster, more direct. Malik moved like someone with something to lose, but also someone who knew what he had gained. As the training ended, the man from the shadows stepped forward. He clapped. Once, sarcastic. Then he spoke low and firm. "You're wasting him." Jason stepped off the mat. "No," he said, "I'm protecting him from becoming like you." The room fell still. The man smirked. "You think you've saved him?" Jason stared. "I didn't save him. He saved himself. I just made sure he had the space to do it." The man stepped forward, as if to say more, but Malik moved first. Not aggressively, not afraid. He stood between them and bowed, not out of weakness, out of control, the kind that says, "I could respond, but I won't." The man backed away, slowly, and left. No threats, no return, because he had seen it, the one thing men like him never understand. Dignity is stronger than intimidation. That night, Jason stayed after hours. He cleaned the mats, locked the doors, turned off the lights. Before he left, he reached into his old gym bag and pulled out a box. Inside, a belt, frayed, faded, his. He placed it on the shelf above the mirror, not to honor himself, to remind others that greatness is passed down not through shouting, but through silence, sacrifice, and presence. Malik returned to the dojo a week later with a younger boy beside him. His cousin, new student, same nervous eyes, same quiet spirit. Malik showed him how to stand, how to bow, how to begin. And from the office window above, Jason watched, not to control, to let go. Because real teachers don't hold the spotlight, they build it around others. He wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the loudest, he was just a kid no one saw, until one man did. Jason Statham didn't just protect a boy from a bully, he gave him the tools to rise above all of them, to turn fear into discipline and silence into leadership. He gave him a belt, but more than that, he gave him a reason to wear it. If this story moved you, if you believe young men need role models who teach strength through respect, not force, subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who needs to remember what dignity looks like. And never forget, you don't earn your place by fighting for it. You earn it by showing others how to rise.